Hello, and welcome to Wesardry, GNOLLVEMBER. Yep, GNOLLVEMBER. Why should orcs get all the glory of a month in their honor? Gnolls are terrifyingly evil, bloodthirsty, demon-worshipping, vile creatures. They are skilled warriors and are basically a plague in humanoid form. A gnoll infestation is far more horrifying than a zombie apocalypse. They're intelligent and ruthless. Zombies want flesh and brains. Gnolls want the same, but relish the screams of their victims, often prolonging their death to enjoy the suffering. I mean, if that's not a recipe for a gore-filled nightmare, you'd be hard-pressed to find one. Therefore, they've earned a namesake month. And be thankful that they are not real. When picking the paint scheme for this WizKids model, I chose to go with an actual hyena's appearance, the golden brown coat, and camouflaging spots found on so many predators of grasslands and savannas. I didn't worry about an ultra smooth paint job on this fella. Any texture would aid in the appearance of fur. This also holds true for the patchiness or variation of color in his fur. A hyena's coat has some symmetry and consistency, but the randomness is what breaks up the outline to camouflage the animal. Once I had my base and mid-tone, I gave the model a wash/glaze with this reddish-brown flesh wash from Vallejo. It brought my colors together and blended it into the golden rich brown that I was looking for. Then it was on to his face. Hyenas' faces can range from matching their coat to having blacks, whites, and grays blended together, sometimes even appearing to be somewhat blue. And since I love somber gray, it was the color I landed on. As I painted the somber gray onto his face, I felt it gave the model the menacing look that I was wanting to convey. I feel just seeing, let alone making eye contact with a gnoll, would be a very unsettling experience. For my mid-tone, I chose wolf gray, scratching in lines to blend the transition of his face to his body color, and adding texture. For my highlights, I returned to my original two colors with the addition of vampiric mist. I sketched in alternating colors and layers to give his coat variation and depth. After adding his spots, I gave him a light glaze to bury his spots within his fur. I also used my grays and vampiric mist on the backs of his arms and legs. I had contemplated on painting his mane black or darker brown, but in the end I chose to leave it the same coloration as his body. I then added a glaze of Nightmare Landscape's Haunted Tree Brown wash. For his arm wraps, I went with Vallejo Beastie Brown as a base coat. And for some of his clothing, Reaper Gnoll Pelt. And here is where I made a mistake. Starting from pure black, I misread the model and painted part of his body as clothing. Reaper Volcanic Orange finished off the scraps of cloth that he was wearing, minus the cloth hanging from his belt. Again, I reached for my Nightmare Landscapes wash to help bring out some of the detail before moving on to adding some highlights. It was during the application of this wash when I realized my error in painting his fur as clothing. I used a 50-50 mix of ogre skin and gnoll pelt for my first highlight color on his clothing. Followed by straight ogre skin as my second highlight. When painting his loincloth or belt cloth thingy, somber gray was my base color, and wolf gray was my highlight. And here's my clothing versus fur faux pas all corrected. This is a great lesson that it's just paint. Don't freak out over a small mistake. Take your time, figure out the answer, and it can be repaired. I assume these were teeth. Not sure. I don't know if I'm correct or if they're supposed to be knives. Regardless, I hit them with vampiric mist and voila, they're teeth. A whole belt full of them to boot. I'm sure I could have referenced some artwork, but when the paint's flowing, you gotta keep going. I hit them with some ogre skin too, to give them contrast. I also used the ogre skin to highlight his arm and leg wraps. And then a little wolf gray. If you're new to painting, you may have noticed that I have repeated a lot of the same colors over and over. Mixing this with that or painting over different colors can end up looking like you've used a bunch of different paints when actually changes in hue, tone, or presentation is all you need to end up with a wide array of variations on your model with very few paints. Learning to mix new colors with what you already have on your wet palette is a very valuable skill to learn. Not only do you not need hundreds of colors to choose from, but it also keeps all of the colors connected and grounded in the same realm on your model, leaving your color choices cohesive and not looking like the victim of a paintball drive-by. And as I've been yammering on, you've been watching me totally botch a paint scheme idea I had. The metallics didn't look bad themselves, but my application was horrendous. So I did some loaded brush and wet blending, and did a sort of TMM and NMM combo to end up with a better end result. Again, mistake, patience, and it's fixed. With another hobby crisis resolved, I plopped my gnoll on a base from Nightmare Landscapes. I wanted him to appear as though he was stepping out of some tall grass in the savannah, ambushing a hapless victim, so I made some Wesardry grass. I have a video explaining some of my techniques on how to make these. With the help of some Nightmare Landscapes basing materials, he was well on his way to having a home where he could hunt, stalk, and terrorize any unwary travelers. After thinning down some Army Painter's primer to prep the base for painting, I began to blend my colors to establish the savanna setting. I used the same colors that I had painted the model with. I used Reaper Dungeon Slime to add a bit of color to the savanna grass. I wanted an arid rocky look, but a pop of color as if the grass had new growth coming or was possibly drying out in the hot sun at the end of the season, I thought was an appropriate effect. And here he is, one WizKids Gnoll's Marvelous Miniatures Gnoll. I'd like to thank you for watching. This guy was pretty dang fun to paint. I could do some more of these Gnolls. There's so many options to go with as far as paint schemes. He is a bit on the clean side. I think I could have grunged him up, dirtied him down a little bit, but I do really like him. If you like him, please let me know. I love your comments. Like the video, share, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. I've had a lot of interest in my grasses how-to video, but I see like 98% of the people watching aren't subscribed. I mean, hey, it's free, dude, and it helps me out a ton if you subscribe. Hit the bell and get notified when I drop another video. I have some really cool ones coming that I'm working on right now. Happy Gnollvember! Make some magic happen. Until the next one, thank you so very much. I'm Wes, and this is Wesardry.